know me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't here for my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I won't always smoke like hookah, talking reparations. America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all in Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get mad. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regret, we only facing the threat.
This is the sound of Ahmadiyyah.
It's a cut on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threat. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans, and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me?
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Saturday Night Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get back into it. All right. Hello, Deronda. Leon is in the virtual building. All right. Nini, I see you, beloved. Okay, let me put my glasses on. All right, Lillian X is here. Let's get into it. All right. So with that all being said, hey Leon, and shout out to my moderators. I see you, Desmond. Shout out to my moderators because they really put in work, you guys. Okay, just so you know. All right, and so with that all being said, I see you, Alice. Okay, Since You Prophetic Bastard is here. Okay, Miss AP Prayers, Peace and Love is in virtual building. All right, so Dark Tube, I see you, beloved. Shout out to all of my loyal worlds and everyone tuned into the Queen. Let's get this party started. First, a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay, now before we get started, I want to say rest in peace and prayers and condolences to the family, friends, loved ones, and fans of the late, great Demond Wilson, who played Lamont Sanford on the hit series Sanford and Son. He has passed away from cancer. They said he had a battle with cancer at the age of 79. Okay, so before we get started with these receipts, let's go and take a look back at one of the last interviews. I'm sure it's probably the last interview that he did before his passing. He did this interview with Comedy Hype. And I actually shared it with you all when he first did it. So I'm going to share just a brief clip. Let me use an overlay because I don't have permission to use this. He was talking about the Hollywood industry and, basically why he didn't choose to stay in it. I'm just going to play about a minute and a half of this clip.
I came to California. I did a film in Canada called The Dealing or the Berkeley to Boston 40 Brick Bag Lost Blues. I went back to Broadway and I was at the Public Theater. Al Pacino was down there. The late Ron O'Neal was down there. You had a lot of actors that became famous that were down there working for Joe Papp in the Village at that theater. It's renowned. And Walter Mirisch from Mirisch Studio, from the Mirisch brothers, came to New York, and he cast me in my first major motion picture, The Organization, with Sidney Poitier. And that's why when I first came to California, we shot it in San Francisco, and people saw the dailies and they liked my work. And so I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to move out there because I'm getting a lot of offers and I don't want to be doing this bi-coastal thing. So I moved to California and I did Mission Impossible and a couple of TV spots, and then All in the Family. And then I got a phone call from Bud Yorkin, and he asked me if I wanted to do a series with Red Fox. So I've never been a part of any of that nonsense. I don't respect those people. I don't care about that. I told you I had connections. Nobody was gonna say nothing to me.
I get it. And it made me think when you just said kind of the comment about some of the people that we've known in the industry and what they may have to do to get to the top. Can you give me
all of them? All of them. You name your biggest black actors, you name your biggest white actors, you name your biggest female Latino actresses, they all have to do it.
Y'all heard what that man said, honey? Okay, he said they all have to do it. What is it that they have to do? Well, sounds like they have to do some of the stuff that's in these Epstein files, if you ask me. Okay, it has long been rumored. We've all heard about it. Okay. So with that all being said, that's why people need to stop engaging in this celebrity worship. All right. And so, because there's no telling what these people are up to behind closed doors. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Like I said, prayers and condolences to the late, great DeMond Wilson. May he rest in eternal peace. Okay, so now let's get into some of the things that they're saying about this whole Trump debacle. First of all, did you all know that Trump was like in charge of this beauty pageant with the teenage models? I'm pretty sure I told you all about that. Now, there is video footage from a teen modeling contest in 1991 that Midas Touch posted to X. I'm going to go to the footage. I'm wondering, can I even show this footage? I don't know. I don't even know if I can show that footage. Okay, just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to show it. But nonetheless, okay, let's continue because I want to go to what Todd Blanche was saying again because he was really playing dumb. So I'm going to go to a few clips of what he had to say. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Reaction to what?
To Don Lemon's arrest overnight.
Do I have a reaction to it? I don't know what that means. What are you looking for me to do? Jump up and down? No, I don't have a reaction to it. So no, I can't. I'm not going to comment on that.
Is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not?
You just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused.
Do I have a reaction to what?
To Don Lemon's arrest overnight.
Do I have a
Okay, so I want you all to pay attention to how he just played stupid. What does that mean? So, what do you think it means? You don't have any answers? So I guess that's what they do when they're asked a question they don't want to answer. Either they play stupid, or they'll say, "Oh, I'm not going to discuss that right now." you know, because there's some sort of ongoing investigation or whatever. But this administration gives no transparency whatsoever. Everything's on the hush hush because they're breaking a whole lot of rules and laws. Okay, as we already know. And now this whole Epstein thing, this stuff isn't going anywhere. Trump needs to be impeached immediately. Okay, I want to see what's going to happen now that all of these nefarious things are coming out, because there's more nefarious things that I'm going to talk to you about in just a second. Okay, please pay attention.
Today, that there is a built-in assumption that there's some hidden tranche of information on men that's being covered up. He says that that's not the case. What does that mean in your mind for these survivors that you have been trying to pursue justice for?
Well, the survivors just want a transparent release. If Blanche believes that there is no cover-up, then he should release the 302 files. The 302 files are where the survivors name who these rich and powerful men are. I've talked to the survivors. They say that they have named those people in the FBI witness interviews. So if those witness interviews are released, the American people can see for themselves who the survivors named and can come to their own judgment of their guilt. But if Blanche continues to not release the 302 statements, to not release the prosecution memos, then it's a cover-up. And so it's not the quantity of documents, and no one is asking him to name exactly who all is in the files. We're just asking him to release the survivor witness interviews.
Blanche said today that there is a built-in assumption that there's some hidden tranche.
Okay, let's keep going. You know, they talked about how many times Trump's name was mentioned in there. Okay, even if they want us to think that he didn't do anything nefarious, how could we possibly think that when he was friends with this man for over a decade, hanging out with him? There's no way he couldn't have known what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. There's just absolutely no way. Okay, you can't convince me that he had no idea. And I believe the allegations by the victims. These people that accuse Trump and Epstein, I absolutely believe they're telling the whole gospel truth.
This is going to be the real test of this app, ain't it? See what that suppression is looking like, Oracle. I do not envy your task with the newly released tranche of Epstein files. I'm ingesting information at the same time as y'all, but a couple things that are already notable. Donald Trump is mentioned hundreds of times, MAGA. And the DOJ is already doing the exact same thing, removing files from that release once they go viral on social media. Why would they go viral? Because they contain allegations against a certain sitting president. Now they're nowhere to be found. Todd Blanche had to preempt the whole thing, it's so bad, by saying that there are sensationalist and untrue claims made about Donald Trump, though they didn't try to protect him. I don't know. Some of those don't seem so sensationalist that I saw. Said that he was operating a ring out of Mar-a-Lago circa 1995 to 1996, and said that Ghislaine Maxwell was functioning as the madam, procuring new girls. We know that part to be true, so why wouldn't the former be true? Todd Blanche also said that they had to remove child essay materials, including anything that depicted injury or death. How much of that was in the files there, Todd? We got a few questions, buddy. What do you mean? Because those Sasha Riley allegations are starting to sound more and more true. This release is giving those credence by the hour. So there's a lot to unpack, but it's already dark, man, fucking dark. And this is who MAGA looks to. It's like divinely appointed. How are you?
Okay, they should all be embarrassed. And you know, he said now it's starting to give credence to those Sasha Riley rumors. Well, we're going to talk about that maybe tomorrow, about Sasha Riley, because I have some details on that. Now, with that all being said, let's go to another person who wants to know why Todd Blanche is lying.
Of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, are
Is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I understand what that means. We said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them, right? We talked about the work that we're doing. That's why I said that. I said this earlier. There's this built-in assumption that somehow there's this hidden tranche of information of men that we know about that we're covering up or that we're choosing not to.
That's not an assumption, Todd. That's the truth. And you know why I can say that with my whole motherfucking chest, Todd? Is because that July letter that you're referencing, this one right here, Todd. Yeah, especially this part right up there that says that you guys found that he didn't blackmail anybody, which we know to be untrue, and that there were no third parties involved. But we know you guys took possession of all of these documents, the 1.5 million document that you magically found the other month, the 3 gigabytes and all the stuff that you're now producing. We knew that you had them since January when you took them from the Southern District of New York's U.S. Attorney's Office. Why do we know that? Because in here, you shut down a 6-year investigation. And to pretend like you don't know what credible sources we have to tell you that you absolutely do know about the co-conspirators involved. There was nearly 50 survivors that provided information to the SDNY prosecution and FBI as part of that investigation. When they were indicting Miss Maxwell, they had at least 10 co-conspirators that they were willing to put on that indictment. But Bill Barr shut that down. So they continued to investigate other co-conspirators, which they said they had 25 at least listed during this entire investigation. And what is that corroborated by? Because she just revealed and backed up that claim that at least 29 members, those men, those co-conspirators, those third parties, cut secret deals with the DOJ. And Todd, aren't you the one that did that little rendezvous with Glenwell Maxwell? Maxwell, in her habeas corpus petition that she filed, that's now public record, alleged that 25 men reached undisclosed deals with 4 alleged co-conspirators were known to investigators but never charged. And that really just backs up all the various things that we had already known about your cover-up. And then that also goes into the numerous amounts of committee testimony that you and Kash Patel gave, where you said that no third party was involved, that nobody else was sex trafficked for anybody else other than Epstein. So it begs one last question. If what you're saying, Todd, is true, then why the fuck are we going and holding Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress? This is your political mom. Educational purposes only, viewers' discretion advised. What?
Okay, so you all heard that? Okay, you all heard that. And here's the thing. She said that it was shut down. The investigation was shut down by Bill Barr. Okay, William Barr. So with that all being said, he was in the files as well. Remember, he was mentioned in the same portion of the files where it mentioned Jay-Z and Pusha T. Said that Bill Barr was there and he witnessed these things happening. Okay? So I find that all very interesting. But also what's even more interesting is that Bill Barr's father, Donald Barr. Okay, now this man hired Epstein in 1974. Bill Barr, now just pay attention, follow the connections and the ties to all of these people. These people are all interlinked, okay, because William Barr's father, Donald Barr, hired Jeffrey Epstein in 1974 to teach calculus. He wrote a book in 1973. Now, this is what's interesting. The book was titled it was titled Space Relations, a slightly gothic interplanetary tale. Okay, published in 1973. And it talked about forced sexual servitude, like sexual slavery, trafficking was talked about in this book. And this was in 1973 when it was published. And then he hired Epstein in 1974. I'm just saying, is his father, Donald Barr, the one who got Epstein into trafficking, who told him all about it since he wrote a book about it? I have several questions. Okay, these things are not coincidences. Very interesting. Okay, that's why I said the rabbit hole goes deep when you start really looking down there. Now, here's something else that I want to share on the screen. This is something else where Mr. Trump, the president of the United States, is mentioned. let's get into it. And again, some of this stuff is so vile and disgusting that I can't even say it. Okay, I can't even say what's in some of this stuff. Now, this one says, this is sworn testimony, by the way. Sworn testimony. And also, let me say this. When they're trying to act as though they don't have a list, they don't have a tranche of names of these people that were clients or whatever, how do they not have a list when there's living victims, okay, surviving victims who have testified? They've given testimony, there's transcripts, and they've given names. But you know what they haven't released? The portion of the transcripts with those names. That's what they haven't done. So they can say, oh, we don't have a list per se, but they actually do have a list. The survivors have told them who these people are that were doing these things to them. Okay, they've been talking, they've been telling them. And they have that information from their testimony, like I said. So why haven't they said anything? And why haven't they gone after any of those people? They want to sit here and play these mind games. Todd Blanche specifically wants to sit here and pretend he doesn't know what we're talking about when we're asking, is anyone going to be prosecuted? Is anyone going to be held accountable? Saying, oh, you all think there's some list of names. Well, we know there is. Okay? We know that there is something, there is somewhere, there is a list of these names and the people, because these young ladies have already said it. Okay. And like I said, this stuff should all be in the transcripts. They just won't release the full transcripts because that's the part they're trying to hide. Okay. And this isn't the Epstein files. This is the Trump files. Okay. Please pay attention. Epstein's dead or hiding somewhere over in Israel. Either way, he's not here. But Trump is, and he's running this country and he's running amok. And so at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but this is all about Trump. Okay? This shouldn't even be about Epstein at this point. It should be all about the president of the United States. Because what in the hell are we doing with a president who's even accused of such things? Whether it's been substantiated or proven or not, he's been accused of a myriad. Not just with the Epstein files, in the past period. He's been accused of a myriad of sexually deviant behaviors. Even the way he speaks. Okay? Now let's continue, because here's what this says. This is sworn testimony. Again, it says, I personally witnessed defendant Trump telling the plaintiff that she shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like the 12-year-old female blank, and that he was capable of having her whole family killed. Do y'all hear this? This is what she says Trump told her. She says she personally witnessed it. Defendant Trump telling the plaintiff that she shouldn't ever say anything if she doesn't want to disappear like that 12-year-old female blank, and that he was capable of having her entire family, her whole family, killed. Now, after leaving the employment of Mr. Epstein in the year 2000, I was personally threatened by Mr. Epstein that I would be killed and my family killed as well if I ever disclosed any of the physical and sexual abuse of minor females that I had personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein or any of his guests. I am coming forward to swear to the truthfulness of the physical and sexual abuse that I personally witnessed of minor females at the hands of Mr. Trump and Mr. Epstein, including the plaintiff, during the time of my own employment from the years 1990 through 2000 for Mr. Epstein. I swear to these facts under penalty of perjury, even though I fully understand that the life of myself and my family is now in grave danger. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. And this is dated June the 18th of 2016. Tiffany Doe, a pseudonym. This is such a darn shame. And nothing till this day has been done. Till this day, nothing has been done. This is all so egregious. Absolutely crazy. Okay, but let's continue, because there's another passage I want to read. Hold on, there's another post. But I don't think I'm going to show that one on the screen for various reasons. Okay, but I will read you some of what it says. I'm going to have to choose my words carefully. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share it on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and share it on the screen. I don't really think it's that bad. Here we go. Okay, so here's what it says. Complainant following up after a call with NYPD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform S acts when she was blank years old and pregnant in 1984. Complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in her S trafficking and the murder and disposal of her newborn daughter. Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to perform these acts with him and alleged Trump was present when her uncle deleted the newborn. Do y'all hear this? These are some serious allegations. And here's what I want you all to pay attention to. They're just going to continue to say things like, well, we don't have any proof that any of the people mentioned have committed any crimes or done anything wrong. We can't say for certain. But if the witnesses, the victims, are alleging these things, what are you talking about here? Are you saying that these people are all lying? That there's no evidence to substantiate any of their claims? Of course there is. Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in prison. Epstein was on his way before he was deleted or whatever happened to him. Okay. So this is what they posted with the paperwork. As many of you know, the FD-1023 is the form our special agents use to record raw, unverified reporting from confidential human sources, CHSs. Okay, FD-1023s merely document that information. They do not reflect the conclusions of investigators based on a fuller context or understanding. Recording this information does not validate it, establish its credibility, or weigh it against other information known or developed by the FBI in our investigations. So basically, are they telling us to? Sounds like they're basically saying just take this all with a grain of salt. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And I find it very interesting because here's the thing. Jeffrey Epstein was charged on several occasions, okay, with engaging in things pertaining to people that are not of age. All right. We know that he and Ghislaine were trafficking people that were not of age. So we know that if they were doing this, they had clients. And then we know that the victims, the witnesses who have testified under penalty of perjury, have given them the names of these people that they recollect doing these things, the ones that they could name. Some of them, they didn't know their names. They were unknown. But the ones that they did, they gave them the names. So it's not making any sense when they keep peddling this story that nobody can get prosecuted at the end of the day. Okay. And here's the thing. Both parties, in my opinion, are just as deeply involved in this whole thing. That's what I've always thought, because I saw Hillary's emails. Okay. I saw Hillary's emails years ago. And those of you that were following me in 2020, I read you those emails. Okay. You know they were nefarious. Even though some of it was coded language, we still knew exactly what was being said. Now, with that being said, let's move on, because I want to talk about the young lady, the journalist who was arrested alongside Don Lemon. And I want you all to pay attention, because you do know that all of the journalists that were arrested were Black. Did you all know that? Don Lemon, Traherne Jean Cruz, Jamel Lindell Lundy, and Georgia Fort, all Black journalists. Okay? Where are the white liberals who were in the church? Why weren't they arrested? Anyone venture to guess? Anyone have a guess about why they weren't arrested as well? Just the 3 Black journalists? Because that's all I heard about. Did y'all hear something different? If you did, please let me know. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I get into that, I forgot to show you these other receipts I have real quick about Trump. Okay. I think this is that same lawsuit that I went over. I'm not sure. I didn't go through this whole thing, but I'm going to go over a couple of pages of this really quick so we can get into the rest of this information. I also want to talk about Dr. Cornel West and how he said the quiet part out loud, and people were just looking like they were so just uncomfortable. But he spoke no lies. Okay, so here we go right here. Okay, Katie Johnson. This is Katie Johnson and against Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. All right, so goes on to say, on the third occasion involving the defendant, Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was forced to engage in an unnatural female-on-female act with her fellow minor and ex-slave Maria, age 12, for the enjoyment of defendant Trump. After this act, both were forced to what do I want to say? Basically do things with cucumbers. Okay, so that all being said, this is all nefarious. Okay, I'm sorry, beloveds. I can't discuss this. It's absolutely nefarious. At the end of the day. And this is y'all's president they're talking about. Okay, let me see if there's anything in here that I can say. So the factual allegations, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges that the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein, did willfully with extreme malice violate her civil rights under 18 U.S.C. 2241 by assaulting and physically abusing plaintiff Johnson, by forcing her to engage in various perverted and depraved acts, by threatening physical harm to plaintiff Johnson and her family. The plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges that the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, also did willfully and with extreme malice violate her civil rights, 42 U.S.C. statute or 1985, by conspiring to deny plaintiff Johnson her civil rights by making her their slave. Okay, an sex slave. Now, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges she was subject to extreme sexual physical abuse by the defendants, Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey E. Epstein, including forcible rape, during a 4-month time span covering the months of June through September of 1994, when plaintiff Johnson was only a minor. Okay, 13. Now, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, alleges she was enticed by promises of money and a modeling career to attend a series of underage parties held at the New York City residence of defendant Jeffrey E. Epstein and attended by defendant Donald J. Trump. On the first occasion involving the defendant, Donald J. Trump, the plaintiff, Katie Johnson, was forced to manually stimulate defendant Trump with the use of her hand upon Trump's. Okay, I think we can go just guess the rest. Okay, so that all being said, nefarious. Absolutely nefarious, okay? This is all, yes, it is sickening. This is all just a whole lot. Okay, so now that we're done with that for now. Okay, so that being said, let's now talk about this young lady who was in fact arrested. But before we get to that, let's go ask a question by a reporter about Mr. Alex Preddy. Okay, here we go.
Alex Preddy, who's spitting, who's kicking out a taillight of a law enforcement vehicle. Does that change the perception of a potential DOJ investigation? Is there going to be a civil rights investigation into his death? Where does that land now that that video's out? Then I have a quick follow-up on that.
I don't think a single video should change any perception the Department of Justice may or may not have about that tragic occurrence last Saturday. We've said repeatedly over the past week that, of course, this is something that we're investigating, and we are. That's what we would always do in circumstances like this. And so there's an investigation that's ongoing, which I'm not going to talk about. But just look, the problem is an initial reaction to a particular video, one or another. You're talking about one that happened apparently some days ahead of last Saturday. it's an investigation. So an investigation necessarily means just that. It means talking to witnesses. It means looking at documentary evidence, sending subpoenas if you have to. And the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has the best experts in the world at this. They've been.
Now, do you see how he has completely gaslit this man? How he has so deflected and gone so far off track? No one asked him anything about how an investigation is conducted and what sorts of tools and resources you need when doing so, and who all has to come and do what. Nobody asked him that. This isn't a criminal justice class 101. Okay, crime scene investigation. That's not what he was asked. Now, see, this man, no one in Trump's administration seems to be able or has the wherewithal to answer questions directly. Okay, that's what they can't do. And they also can't answer them honestly. Okay, make no mistake. But let's continue.
Doing it for decades, and so I expect that that investigation will proceed with those parameters in mind.
There's new video of a man believed to be Alex.
Now, he asked him, with the new video footage coming out of Alex Preddy, a man who looks to be Alex Preddy, kicking the vehicle, does that change the way you feel or how it's viewed for the situation? He starts talking about how you conduct an investigation. Just tell us how you feel. Do you think that that changes how you perceive the entire situation, sir? It's ridiculous. But you know what? It did change how he perceived it, because all of the minions that follow Trump and sniff his butt, okay, all of them saw it. No matter how you sliced it, no matter what evidence came about, they were going to find it that he was wrong, that he was a whole domestic terrorist who came there to wreak havoc and cause a disturbance in the first place. That's how they were going to say it regardless. It doesn't matter what evidence was shown. Okay, it just happens that this evidence just so happens to help them in their minds to paint the nefarious narrative that they've been trying to paint. And wait till you listen to this lie that they've been telling on this poor man. Okay, just making up blatant lies. Okay, let's take a listen. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance.
They're now pushing an entirely fabricated story about Alex Preddy to justify his death. They're saying he quit his job several months ago, exhibited unusual behavior, and joined a mysterious group to protest full-time. Take a look. They're trying to claim his parents said that he quit his job at the VA hospital months ago and exhibited signs of unusual behavior recently. They're fabricating quotes from parents who just recently lost their son. Then they go on to say, but it wasn't until police pulled messages from Alex's phone that the truth began to emerge, and what investigators found. Then they're trying to imply that it was premeditated, saying that Alex scrubbed his social media presence one day before he passed away. Then the guy concludes with, when you make decisions based on emotions, you make poor decisions. He made bad decisions. I'm a 2A absolutist. You have a right to carry, not a privilege. I don't think any 2A absolutist would defend a federal agent taking the life of a peaceful protester when he was concealed carrying legally. But these outrageous claims are very easy to fact check. No, he did not quit his job. At the time of his death, he was actively employed as a registered nurse in the ICU at a VA hospital. His family, colleagues, and union confirmed he was still working at this hospital caring for veterans. Additionally, state records showed his Minnesota nursing license was active through March of this year. These statements have been debunked by his parents themselves, who described him as a dedicated caregiver until the end. What makes this even worse is how coordinated this whole misinformation campaign feels. They're using identical talking points and recycled phrases. I just wonder who would have something to gain from spreading misinformation about this guy. Could it possibly be the government that wrongfully took his life in public? Trump supporters are now pushing.
Now, let me tell you what's probably happening here. Like he said, could it be the government? Let's not forget how they've said it's been, put out there that they have people on social media who are paid influencers to paint narratives, okay, for the government and for politics specifically. Okay, so please pay attention. Please pay attention, because that's absolutely what could be going on for all we know. And here's the thing. At the end of the day, that sounds very plausible, because we already see how they have, painted narratives in the past, how they flat out lied, painted false narratives. Okay, how they used an AI generated picture for the Black Lives Matter activist that was arrested. They did the same thing with Abreu Garcia when they were trying to convince us so it would justify them just deporting this man to a place he's not even familiar with. But they had the Photoshop picture with the knuckles, with the MS-13, Photoshop clearly. The fake gun that they posted telling us it was Alex Pretty's gun, but it turned out to be Google, a stock photo. You can't believe anything they say. So who knows? Okay, who knows when they're telling the truth? So I just, don't believe anything they say. Now, actor Giancarlo Esposito, the OG, you all may remember him from School Days. He's played in a myriad of movies. But anyway, that all being said, he's talking about there needs to be a revolution. Okay, he's like fed up clearly. So let's get into it. Well, one thing about it is the revolution will not be televised. That's for sure.
Rich old white men are exerting their power to suppress our own people, thus creating a feeling of civil war in the streets, preparing the haters to hate, teaching them how to shoot. They're not even trained right, to kill. This is all a preparation for a very insidious problem that's happening in our world. And for me, I have to speak out that we will not be iced out. This is not going to happen. They can't take us all down. If the whole world showed up on Putin's doorstep or on the Iranian's doorstep or in Washington, it would stop. They'll kill 550 million, however, but the rest of us would survive with a new. This is time for a revolution. It's time for it, and they don't even know that's what they're starting. But we have to be strong enough to know that we can change the world. We have to change it from within. So if I'm spiritually ready and right, and I'm ready to understand other people and to agree to disagree with them and say, okay, let's find the solution together, then that starts to change things. Not by deporting immigrants, not by killing brown and even white people on the street. It's crossing over now, and believe me, this is gonna really spark the nature of so many people who are gonna show up and say no more. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it.
All right. Well, some people are already saying that at the end of the day, they got Jane Fonda out here. Now, for those of you that don't know, Jane Fonda has always been a humanitarian and an activist. And here she is. And I do believe that Jane Fonda was one of the White Panthers. Okay, if I'm not mistaken. Now, but here she is raising hell about Don Lemon being arrested.
I know Don Lemon. My husband created CNN, and I will fight for their right to speak, which is guaranteed in our Constitution. They arrested the wrong Don. Don Lemon is a professional journalist. He and his producer were doing their job. Nothing more, nothing less. And he's been arrested. And they'll make up all kinds of defamatory things to say about him. That's what they're doing. This is how autocrats act. We can't fall for it. We have to speak up. When a red line is crossed like this, we cannot be silent. So I know Don Lemon, my husband.
All right, y'all heard what she said. Now, correction, Jane Fonda was not officially a member of the White Panther Party, but she was a prominent active supporter of the Black Panther Party in the late 1960s, early 1970s. She engaged in fundraising, protesting for their cause, and supported their revolutionary aims, often wearing symbols associated with the group during that era. All right. So that all being said, like I said, that lady's always been out there raising hell. Okay, so with that all being said, let's continue because Don Lemon was talking about Nicki Minaj and that gold card. Do y'all know Nicki got a gold card on it? Now, I thought Don might have been joking, but yeah, she said they got the wrong Don, Dorada. Exactly. Okay, and Lillian X, yes, Don J. Trump. That's the one that needs to be arrested. Okay, Don J. Trump. Lock him up. Let's get into it. Nicki Minaj got her a gold card. I knew what she was up to. Shouldn't have me fooled. We all knew what she was doing.
Minaj got a gold card. Is that a citizenship card that she got? Did you guys see that? Is this the gold membership card, the gold citizenship card? Does that mean she's a citizen? United States of America, isn't it the whole thing that you can pay to get entry into the US and you get a gold card and then you become a citizen, right? Nicki Minaj has received Donald Trump's gold card, which grants her US residency. There you go. Told you. Told you. Told you. She got a gold card, a citizenship card. She has received the gold card, which grants her U.S. residency.
Mm-hmm. That's what she got. And let me tell you something. That's why Donald Trump, when he pulled her up on stage the other day, if you remember, he said something about her donating hundreds of thousands. And then he tried to walk it back. He said something like, oh, she's donating hundreds of thousands. And he said something to his accounts or something. And then he said to her fans, the children of her fans. I was thinking, how would he know that she was giving money to the children of her fans? Clearly, he tried to walk it back. But here's the thing. Trump does have a gold card. It's called the Trump Gold Card. Okay, it's a 2025. It was launched in 2025, an immigration initiative offering wealthy foreign nationals expedited U.S. permanent residency. Okay, like a green card. But it's a faster path to citizenship in exchange for $1 million contribution. Okay, a $15,000 processing fee and background vetting. It functions as a rapid investment-based pathway. How is that even legal for the president of the United States to be doing that? How is that even legal? And it's also totally unethical because here's the thing. What are the criteria? Can the person be a convicted felon? Could they have committed crimes elsewhere? What if they're a fugitive? Okay, I have questions. Wealthy foreign nationals. What if they're rug cartels? They're wealthy. You see, this whole thing about Trump saying they're cleaning up the streets, deporting immigrants to get rid of crime, that's not true. Because why are people saying that they're going in prisons to recruit for ICE agents? And why are so many of their ICE agents have been called out after being doxxed and other things to find out that they have criminal charges, even abuse charges and whatnot? They're the criminals. It's them. So how are they sitting here pretending that they're trying to clean up the streets of the immigrants because they're saying the immigrants are criminals? It makes no sense. None of this makes a bit of sense. And then they talk about getting rid of immigrants, but you'll let wealthy immigrants come here. Now, they do talk about a vetting process, but how serious and strict is the vetting process? Because to me, this doesn't seem to be about the behavior of the person or what type of person. It seems to be about the wealth of the person. Are they going to be able to pay this money, $1 million and a $15,000 processing fee? Okay, it says the purpose is to attract high-level professionals and drive the U.S. economy, as stated by the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who was also in the Epstein files, by the way. Howard Lutnick was in the Epstein files as well. But let me continue. I want you to pay attention to how all of these people whose names that we see in reports, whose names that we hear in the news, who are in politics and all of that, government officials, how are these people's names all up and through the Epstein files? But I told you this already. I told you all this already. I told you all this back in 2020. Okay, now with that all being said, it acts as an expedited, upgraded version of existing EB-1 or EB-2 visa classifications. Okay, provides a faster route to residency, often in weeks, compared to traditional long wait methods. The official website, trumpcard.gov, allows applications for what the administration calls a new investment visa for extraordinary or substantial benefit to the U.S. That's what Nicki got. Because she came here illegal. She came here illegally, allegedly. And also, I'm sure she got a pardon for her husband. Now, we may not hear about that out in the streets, but behind closed doors, that's probably exactly what's going to happen, okay, if it hasn't already. Now, with that being said, let's get into this interview that Anderson Cooper did with Georgia Fort, one of the journalists who was arrested alongside Don Lemon.
Captured video of your own arrest federal agents outside your home. Can you just talk about that experience?
As journalists, we never want to be the story. But unfortunately, I did find myself in a predicament where I felt that I needed to be able to tell my own story, that I needed the world to see that journalism is on trial, that we are at a state in our nation where if you are documenting what's happening, you may be criminalized for it. You may be arrested. And so I think what is happening in Minnesota overall should be quite alarming to the entire nation. I think what happened to me today as an independent journalist, what happened to Don Lemon being arrested for reporting what's happening, I think people should be alarmed. And I think mainstream media should also be really concerned because if they can criminalize a journalist here in Minnesota, whether you're independent or not, I think that we've seen a track record where this is just going to continue to escalate.
You have no doubt that this is meant to intimidate not just yourself and Don Lemon and the others who were charged, but journalists everywhere.
I would ask you, how does it feel to you to see a journalist arrested for simply reporting the news? I would challenge every journalist in America to ask themselves how it felt to them today to see their colleagues be arrested for reporting the news. And if any of them say that it made them fearful, it made them concerned, it made them second guess going out tomorrow and covering what's happening in their communities, then yeah, I would say that that was probably the intent. It does send a chilling message to our entire industry.
You captured.
That is such a shame. And that is exactly what I told you guys. Okay, I told you all that this is about nothing more than intimidation. Okay, just being a bully, making an example out of Don Lemon and the rest of these journalists so that no one else would dare, especially the independent journalists, because see, they're not caught in between guidelines like the rest of these people, legacy media and the rest of them. They paint these fictitious narratives and only put out certain things, you know, to demonize certain groups of people and all of that. But when you're independent, you can go out there and report what you want. And so they're trying to intimidate these people and so they can control the narrative. Okay? That's what they're doing. Trying to intimidate them so they can control the narrative. Hold on, beloveds. Now, with that all being said, there is, let me show you all this video now. Republican MAGA Minnesota governor. Okay. Hold on. PDF file. Is there a correlation between all of these terms? Hold on. What is this man talking about? Hold on. Okay, let me go to this video because this man is a whole freak. I don't know what he was up to, but it looks interesting. Someone's accusing him of being a PDF file. Okay, let's get into it. I don't know why they have the Minnesota governor up there, though.
I say goodbye to my wife and kids and make the 3-hour trek to St. Paul to fight for our way of life because day after day, it is under attack from Metro liberals.
A Minnesota state senator just arrested, accused of soliciting a minor for prostitution.
You really can't make this shit up. So this is Justin Eichhorn. He's a senator from Minnesota. And you heard that right. He was recently arrested during a sting operation because he was trying to purchase time with a minor for sex. So Justin had been speaking online to someone that he believed was a 16-year-old girl. But when he finally showed up to meet this young girl to rape her, because that's what it would have been, instead of finding a minor, Justin encountered a major problem. The authorities were there waiting for him to arrive, and they quickly arrested him. Now, this is incredibly significant because Justin is a senator, a lawmaker. And he was recently in the news because he was one of 5 co-authors of a bill that would officially designate Trump derangement syndrome as an officially recognized mental illness in Minnesota. Now, it isn't surprising to me that a politician has been caught in a pedophile sting. We already know that there are tons of politicians that are pedophiles. I've covered this issue extensively on all of my social media. But when you've recently been in the news for calling a large number of Americans deranged, your constituents, and then this happens, it's just not surprising. And thankfully, when you go to look up his information, he has resigned. And he's thankfully no longer a senator in Minnesota.
Do y'all hear that? I find it all interesting. I find it all interesting. One thing I meant to tell you all too about that about the Trump and the Epstein files. They said something about Trump's accusers. Now I wonder exactly how many accusers Trump has. It says, this is the list I sent Whitney with names of Trump accusers from NTOC. And this is dated August the 6th of 2025. At the top, it says child exploitation and human trafficking task force. That's what it says at the top. Task force. Child exploitation and human trafficking task force. Okay, so what is this all about? His accusers. Honey, Trump is all nefarious at the end of the day. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Please pay attention. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's talk about Dr. Cornel West. Okay, how he went in the other day. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Here we go. First, we're going to start off with Torrey.
This is treating white people the way the police have been treating black people forever. People been saying that. Cornel West just said it on Abby Phillip.
So when you niggerize a whole country, you start treating all of your citizens the way black folk have been treated for 250 years. So when I see the police killing these two precious folks, Sister Renee and my dear brother Alex,
We've been afraid of the police and treated like non-citizens by the police forever. We've been getting shot by the police for a long time. I hope white people are shocked by how it feels to have the state against you. Cornel West just said what all the black people are thinking.
Okay, at the end of the day, here's the thing. Yeah, when they're trying to school us, as if we don't know. Black people, y'all are next. No, we're never next. We're always first. When something happens to other people, trust and believe. It's already been happening to us. Okay, we don't have next. We always are on first. Sadly. Okay, sadly.
Dr. Cornel West just stole the show tonight when he let everybody on the panel know what black people have been thinking about what's happening in Minnesota. Oh, this is next level diabolical.
now I come from a people who have been demonized and vilified and terrorized for 250 years in the American experiment. That's what it is to niggerize a dignified black people.
What did he just say?
Niggerize a dignified black people. Make sure that they are intimidated, terrified, full of fear, and not able to straighten their backs up. But thank God, the Black Freedom Movement straightens our backs up. Well, what we're witnessing, and this is why the larger picture is important here. We're at we're right on the edge.
They're on C. I've ever seen that panel get. And Dr. Cornel West, huge W. You dropped some new lingo on them right there on CNN. I'm surprised they didn't bleep it out, champ. Yeah, MAGA.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen them that quiet as well. Okay, now I paused it because I wanted to go to the video of him just speaking without anyone giving their commentary on top of it. Or I fast forwarded for that reason, shall I say. Okay, now here's Dr. Cornel West. Okay, so not sure how that happened. Hold on just a second. Let me go back. Okay, here we go.
But the problem is, you see, it's not a question of Democrats versus Republicans. It's a question of the truth. The question of the truth. Neither one of the parties want to tell the truth. So if you two just want to continually be preoccupied with being parasitic on the Democrats, we can talk about the Democrats till the cows come home. They might have little to do with truth, little to do with justice. When you're terrorizing and traumatizing a people who are disproportionately chocolate, of course it's racist. Of course it is.
True or false?
What's that, bro?
Did we allow millions of people unvetted into this country, many of them who are criminals, rapists, child molesters, child rapists, murderers, gangbangers, people killing people with fentanyl, bringing in a
how
little
long
drugs?
is your question gonna go, bro?
Well, it's a long list.
I think
It's a
you got
long
enough.
list.
Now, let me say something. When he says people killing people with fentanyl, first of all, he sounds crazy because what he's doing there is he's allowing people who are addicts to skirt responsibility. People killing people with fentanyl. If people are dying from fentanyl, it's because they're taking it themselves. They're voluntarily doing so. They're choosing to take it. No one's forcing them. So nobody's killing them. They're killing themselves. Okay, basically.
I think you got enough. I think you got
Okay,
enough.
well, when you let 10
Let me tell you
million,
what my answer
15
is.
million
Let me
into
tell you
this
what my
country,
answer is. Let me tell you
you've
what
got
my
a
answer
problem,
is.
and you
Let me
guys
tell you
did
what my
that.
answer is, though, brother Ben.
Abby.
What is it?
That there's no doubt that the Democrats did, in fact, were a colossal failure when it came to immigration. That's a fact. But the
So
other
to
truth is
clean
this.
it up,
The other
it's
truth
gonna
is
be
this, though. Let me finish now, brother. Don't just keep your flow coming out of University of Mississippi now.
All right, Dr. West. Everybody keep their hands to themselves at the table.
I love this man.
No, I love this man.
You know I wouldn't go and start swinging on you, man. You know that. But I mean, but it is a rhetorical swing because the fact is this: if every immigrant disappeared in America tomorrow, which makes it a distraction now, you're talking about immigrants. We still have poverty. We still have deep conflict, class, racial conflict.
You'd have
We
a lot
still
less
have-
crime.
Well,
You'd have
not
a lot
necessarily.
less
There's
crime.
a lot of Native Americans, a lot of Indians, a lot of Americans.
He's talking about we'd still have crime. Well, of course we would. But why are they trying to act like the immigrants are the only ones committing crime? Okay, that's interesting. Because who commits the most crime? Period. Okay, now let's continue because then they're going to ask Dr. Cornel West about agitators, or he's going to speak on that.
That there are well-organized, well-trained, and well-funded agitators who are showing up with the purpose of provoking these kinds of incidents so that they can then create the narrative that somehow ICE is out of control.
No, but where you see professional agitators, I see courageous citizens who have a righteous indignation and a moral outrage when their city, this is Princess City now, you know, sign of the times, 1987, when it's being terrorized, it's being traumatized, communities are being vilified and demonized. Now, I come from a people who have been demonized and vilified and terrorized for 250 years in the American experiment. That's what it is to niggerize a dignified black people. Make sure that they are intimidated, terrified, full of fear, and not able to straighten their backs up. But thank God, the Black Freedom Movement straightens our backs up. Well, what we're witnessing, this is why the larger picture is important here. We're at we're right on the edge cliff in terms of the possibility of America sustaining itself as a social experiment in the best sense, or just becoming an empire full of might and force. So when you niggerize a whole country, you start treating all of your citizens the way black folk have been treated for 250 years. So when I see the police killing these two precious folks, Sister Renee and my dear brother Alex, and I've had so many partners killed by the police growing up on the chocolate side of town, right? What has been the response? Thank God for Martin King. How do we learn how to love in the face of this hatred? How do we learn how to fight for freedom for everybody in all parts of town in the face of all of this terror? And America now has the blues. If you don't learn something from the best of the blues people, we're going to lose the democracy. So this is not just about meticulous detail. We're talking about something huge.
It does seem that we are at a
I'm sorry, beloveds. I noticed some of you said the volume was low. I turned it up as loudly as I could because apparently that clip was screen recorded, is what it sounded like. Okay, my mistake. Sorry. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this former cop who wants to talk about the Alex Preddy shooting. Okay, and then we're out of here.
Let's talk about Alex Preddy. Now, in full transparency, I've been keeping my eyes, my ears, and my nose, pretty much all my senses away from the media, mostly. Because I realized very quickly that consuming nonstop information, especially when most of it is bad news, is not good for my mental health. And it's not good for yours either. I'm not telling you not to be informed, but I'm telling you to be intentional about what you consume, how much of it you consume. I digress. Let's talk about Alex Preddy. Now, just as I did with Renee Good, I reluctantly watched the video, frame by frame, over and over, read articles, read statements, even the ones that I didn't want to read. Because as former law enforcement, I always start off neutral. I like to watch the video frame by frame, get all the facts and information so that I can make my own judgment. I don't let nobody else think for me. If you want my take, bad shoot, 100% every single day. There's nothing disputing that. I've seen some pretty fucked up things done by law enforcement that have proved what can happen when training is insufficient in the eyes of mental illness or unsuitability for the job. This one probably takes the cake. I wish we weren't talking about a person who is no longer here in order to pull this apart. That's what makes this particularly enraging. I have never seen law enforcement pull a firearm off of somebody and then continually to perceive them as a threat. I've also never seen law enforcement not declare that somebody who they see as interfering or obstructing failed to take that person into custody, whether they are armed or not. As soon as homie got into customs face, they concluded that he was breaking a law. They should have put him in the handcuffs, even if it was a wrong arrest. I have never seen such a blatant disregard for human life or the law. You're probably asking yourself, how did this happen? Maybe he shouldn't have been there. Maybe he shouldn't have had a gun. First of all, there are two important amendments to the U.S. Constitution that put this into perspective. Alex Preddy was there exercising his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. 2, he was also there legally carrying a firearm that nobody even knew was on his person and was not relevant to the law enforcement tactics that ensued. So before my internet warriors with no life experience and no law enforcement training and no tactical experience chime in, let me do the hard work for you. Passive resistance, there's active resistance. Of course, there's combat, which definitely was not going on here. A camera is not a firearm. A man with a firearm in his possession is not the same as a man who's brandishing a firearm and using it to threaten the lives of law enforcement and others. There is literally no justification for what happened. There is literally no justification for the law enforcement response. And I use law enforcement very lightly here. A few moments ago, I just watched an interview with Gil Kurlikowski. He's CPB's former commissioner. What he said was pretty straightforward to understand. CPB nor ICE have any, I repeat, any tactical training to do what they're doing. This is not their function. Look, CPB belongs in the border. ICE belongs in targeted operations for people who've received their final deportation orders. They are not trained at all for urban law enforcement or crowd control. That is not their function. Urban law enforcement, crowd control, public order platoon, patrol procedures, de-escalation, all of that is what state and local law enforcement are trained in. They are trained to deal with protesters, agitators, and hostile environments. CPB is not. ICE is not. This is not a partisan issue. This is not about red or blue, Democrats, liberals, Republicans, conservatives, trumpets, anti-trumpets. It doesn't even matter. I don't care who you voted for. This is about humanity and training. I honestly cannot fucking believe that we're having this conversation again. And my question now becomes, how many more times must we have this conversation before sense actually becomes common? A man has lost his life. For all of you who are saying that they're going after the worst of the worst, and this is a great thing, we should be proud that Trump is keeping his promise and getting the worst of the worst at our communities. The rapists, the killers, all these bad people are suddenly being shipped out of the United States. Let me ask you, how does this apply? How does Alex Preddy fit into that narrative? If two seemingly white U.S. citizens exercising their constitutional rights can be murdered in cold blood, have the administration not even wait for the sun to set to vilify them, to label them as domestic terrorists, for Kristi Noem to sit up there and tell the entire American populace, including the grieving family of Alex Preddy, that he approached officers brandishing a weapon and threatening their lives, when all video and empirical evidence prove otherwise. If that could happen to him, what makes it think it can't happen to you? I remember I was still a cop on patrol when they were talking about defunding the police. I thought it was absurd. I thought it was absurd to purport blanketly defunding every police department and removing vital funding from every police department when every police department across the country had different historical issues. I thought it was bullshit. But defunding ICE, abolishing ICE, that I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm here for it too, buddy. Okay, I'm here for it too. Abolish ICE. So Denzel Riley says a firearm at a peaceful rally? Yeah, a firearm at a peaceful rally. Listen, some people take their firearm wherever they go for protection. There's peaceful rallies, but you never know what's going to pop off. Okay? Every time there's been a mass shooter, nobody expected them to come. Okay? People have been walking through grocery stores, sitting in schools or sitting at work or whatever, and some crazy mass shooter comes in there. Nobody's expecting. So it's good to have your weapon on you if you're licensed to carry. There's nothing wrong with that. People have also historically carried guns and weapons to peaceful protest. That's just a fact. Didn't Kyle Rittenhouse, and yes, I said Rittenhouse, didn't he, in fact, have a gun on him at a peaceful protest? Okay, did he not? So it was a protest, not a rally. Okay, that's what it was. And then there was another comment that I also wanted to address before I get out of here. Denzel Riley says, you people worship your skin color and not the creator. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for letting us know. Okay. Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? Denzel Riley is clearly a troll, but I'm here for it. Said, okay, peaceful protest, that's better. Yeah, it is. Because a protest is not a rally. Okay, a rally is when people come together to listen to someone who's going to be speaking, or there's going to be, some sort of topic that they want to address. That's a rally. A protest is when people are angry. They're upset about something. There's a cause for concern. And so people rally together to go and protest, but it's not actually a rally. So yes, there is a difference, hence why they call it two different names. Now, with that all being said, Denzel really says, where was the outrage when Obama deported 5 million illegal aliens? That's the question. That's the question I was looking for. Okay, thank you for asking. Here's the thing. There was no outrage because the people that Obama was deporting were actually illegal aliens, you see. And they had broken federal laws and come here. That's for one. For two, he didn't have ICE going around racially profiling people, harassing, brutalizing, and even murdering people to get the job done. You see how that worked? Like, people didn't even know that Obama had deported all of those people because that's how smooth he did it. You see, because he did it the legal way, okay, the moral way. They were given due process. That's why. That's why there was no outrage. There was no need for outrage. When you follow the rule of the law, why would there ever be outrage? Okay, any further questions before we roll out? Zealot says Alex didn't care about his job or his professional reputation. Well, I would imagine that he did. I can't speak for Alex. How would I possibly know that? Okay, so with that all being said, I'm out of here. Everyone, please like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Okay, Barillas Loon says, I prefer term undocumented. No human is illegal. Well, you know, that is likely true, beloved. That is likely true. Okay, I personally don't like when they would call them aliens because that sounds like they're from outer space. So we can always agree or disagree on verbiage, but you know, historically, that's what they have been called. All right, but thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so with that all being said, everyone enjoy the rest of this night. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Okay, it's probably going to be closer to noontime. Okay, but I have a very interesting topic that we're going to be discussing. So I hope to see you all here. And I hope you all enjoy the broadcast. Until next time, beloveds, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got